Today we're talking about part 2 of Unit 4, Learning Target 2. In part 1 we graphed using standard form. Today we will be using the y-intercept and the slope, which would suggest that we are going to use slope-intercept form. Okay, and so when we're talking about slope-intercept form, the equation or formula that's set up into is y equals m times x plus b. Okay, so the two values here of m and b, kind of like the a, b, and c in the last equation, are standing for numbers that we're going to be putting in, but these have a bit more meaning than the A, B, and C had. So in our equation, B, sorry about that. B is representing our y-intercept. Okay, and so this is the first point that you will or you should plot on your graph. There's not really any other points that we use for the most part other than the point that we get from our second position or second value. So in our equation, m is going to represent our slope. Okay, so here this is what you would use in a conjunction with the y-intercept. So we use our slope to help us get the second point to help us graph our line. Okay, and so recall that slope there we go. Recall that slope is rise over run. Okay, and that's kind of what we'll be using here to help us out. Okay, so first our problems here. So I'm giving you the y-intercept and the slope without the equation, but first we want to be able to put it into our equation. Okay, so because your equation is in the form of y equals mx plus b, this slope value of 3/4 is representing our m. Okay, so I'm going to take it and plug that in. And then this -2 is actually representing our b. And we will take that and plug it in there. Okay, so then I should get the equation of y equals 3/4 x minus 2, or plus a -2 if you would like. It both means the same thing. So then that would be my equation that I would use. Now here I want to graph. Now there's no special steps here other than what we talked about in the previous slide. So I'm going to use a y-intercept to graph the first thing. So my y-intercept, remember that that's an ordered pair that we talked about in the last video, where we would get 0, -2. So that point would be on the y-axis. So starting at 0, 0, I go down 1 and I go down 2. So there's my point right there. Okay, so I plot that point, label it, and now I want to use my rise over my run. Because rise over run is 3/4, that means 3 I go up 3, and 4 is positive as well, so I go to the right 4, okay, from your y-intercept. So it's not from any random point. I'm using my y-intercept to get me to the next point in conjunction with the slope, okay? So starting at 0, -2, I go up 1, 2, 3. And then I'm right here, so now I want to go that way. So I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4. So I should put a point right there. Okay? And then from there, I want to draw a line connecting my 2 points. And that would be my graph. Okay? Let's try it again. So here, given the y-intercept and the slope, my equation is y equals mx plus b. Here's my slope. So I'm going to plug it in for m because they're the same. This is my y-intercept, and so that represents b. So I'm going to plug it in there. So I get the equation of y equals -1/2 x plus 3. Okay? So then graphing wise, my y-intercept is the point 0, 3. So I go down, or I go up, sorry, from the origin 1, 2, 3 to that point right there. So I'm going to mark it and label it. Okay, now I want to use my slope, which is -1/2. So here, the -1 says down. The 2 still says to the right because it's positive. So one can be negative, one can be positive. They both could be negative, but we usually don't write it that way. Okay, so following that pattern, I go down 1, and then I go to the right from there, 1, 2. So then my point is right here at 2, 2. Okay, so whoops. So notice that I'm going from the y-intercept, not from the origin when I do the second point. I only start at the origin for the y-intercept, so I can get up or go down, okay? Go to the last point, okay? Here, they give me the same information. So remember that it's a y equals mx plus b. There's my slope, so I'll plug it in. There's my y-intercept, plug it in. So I get the equation of -3x plus 5. My y-intercept in this case is going to be 0, 5. And then my slope is going to be -3. Now here, the last two were fractions. So we already had a rise over run. So what you need to remember is that slope or numbers can always be written as fractions. So I would need to add something here to make it a fraction, which a whole number can always be written as -3 or any number over 1. Okay, in this case, -3 over 1. So then my -3 is telling me to go down, and then my 1 is telling me to go to the right. Okay, so then from there, starting at the origin, I go up 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gets me at 0, 5. Okay, and then the next part I go down 3. So 1, 2, 3, and from that point I go to the right 1. So it gets me right here. So it should be at 1, 2. Okay, and then I graph my line. Oh, let's try again. There you go. And then that would be how we graph, okay? Have fun.